15 meeting of the Lowell Conservation Commission, and I'd like to just take a second and have you folks look at page 13 of today's Lowell Sun, and I won't say anything more than that, and I'm just a proud dad, that's all. So, first item on tonight's business is notice of intent concerning DEP file number 2060744, David Lay. Project location is 119 Boulevard Street, and is construction of a single-family house on a 100-year floodplain. And Mr. Erickson, wait until you get back to the podium. And if you could introduce yourself for the record.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Erickson from North Environmental Services. This proposal is for construction of a single-family dwelling on Boulevard Street. Part of this work is in the floodplain. The land rises pretty steeply in the front, so there's enough room to provide the compensatory storage on the lot. We've got flood vents, and the plan that you've got has been modified from the original submittal to include the flood vent profile and the foundation profile on it in response to some comments from the city. So you can see on the side, we've got the profile calculations on the bottom. We've got some 300 cubic feet of more floodplain created than will be filled. On this dwelling, all of the heating units and other units will be on the first floor somewhere or up in the attic, however, but nothing will be in the basement. That's it.
All right, couple things. One, just a big one, the plans that you submitted tonight, are they the same as what was submitted with the submittal, just with the exception of the detail on the foundation?
That's correct. It's
okay.
The same plan except for the details.
All right, just as a point of procedure, that needs, I don't know if Swati, if you got one, I don't have a stamped and signed plan. So I know Mr. Ahu did the one that was with the original submittal, but this one doesn't have that.
Okay.
So that needs to be, yeah, we need to get certified plans. Okay. Two, I noticed that there was no changes from on the cuts and fills from the original plan. So, but I don't want to make the assumption that that your foundation walls have been included in this. I just don't know, because you're filling in the driveway to establish the driveway, but you know, so from the original plan, you could just make the assumption that it was just the driveway fill that you're providing compensation for. So I'd like to see a breakdown as to what the foundation fill is also. I don't think that's an overly difficult thing, but the third one is the most important, though, is you have compensation off-site between the city right-of-way, and you can't do that. Okay, you got to keep it all within the four corners of your boundary. Now you have area for it up in the northwest corner. There's some higher elevations where you can provide compensation. You know, I don't want to tell you how you design, but you may even want to consider putting a little bit of a, you know, cutting those the slope off the driveway a little bit tighter or something like that. That may work. I don't know if there's a regulation on, you know, how far down you can go.
We can do that, but we have to cut some of that area in order to get access to the property in the first place. When you're putting a driveway in, you are doing some grading on city property.
Yeah.
But it's the only way to get access.
Yeah,
to
no, I understand that the driveway cut is one thing. I get that, but if you look at further to the, you know, to the northeast a little bit of the driveway, there's also above the 101, 100, it depends, because it takes a jog out there. So above that elevation, the floodplain elevation goes up to 101.5 there. So it looks like there's some compensation being made, you know, outside of the property. So let's bring, you can still make those changes, those grade changes, provided, the city lets you do that. That's another issue. You just can't count that as part of your cut, that's all. If you fill it in, you have to provide compensation even though it's not on your property, but you can't take credit for any cuts you make there. You have to keep that on your property, okay? And as I said, up in the northwest corner, it looks like you can do that. On the existing lot, it looks like you may be able to make compensation over there too. So
I think we have the area to do that.
Yeah, it's not. I'm sure you'll be able to find it. You just can't take credit for it where some of it is being taken credit for. Okay. Other than that, I don't have anything else, Commissioner Varnum.
We mentioned separating out the foundation wall as far as how much fill that would be, but it seems there's also steps here, front steps. Is that included in your?
Yes, that is included.
Okay, if you could separate that out also. And I see a front walk, but I don't really understand, is it filled in completely so that it's a level walk out to the street, or so the steps go down and then are you going to be needing another set of steps to get up to the street?
I'll look at that.
Mm-hmm. So you're not changing any grades on the adjacent property, the existing dwelling lot, then? Those remain the same? Do we have a drawing of how high this foundation wall is above? I'm just curious, how high does the foundation sit above ground level?
Just about 2 feet.
Only 2?
Yes, and then it'll be framed with wood from there up.
That's all I have right now, thank you.
Commissioner Toner?
I don't understand the question. I can't hear you very well either.
Yeah, Commissioner Toner, could you turn on your microphone?
Thank you. So you will be removing the 1,125 cubic feet and refilling the 730. And that includes the foundation, the stairs, and the driveway.
Right, the Wetland Protection Act requires that we compensate for any fill that's in the floodplain. So we're putting some fill in the floodplain. It's necessary for us to remove fill from the other area to compensate for that. We calculate that in 1 foot increments, and we get the same volume. In this case, we got 300 cubic feet of additional compensatory flood storage beyond what we're filling on the property.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. That works for me.
Okay.
I didn't hear the question. I didn't hear the question.
I was just making sure that these numbers are correct and that there will be more removed, so there will be more storage created for the floodplain than it will be filled back in.
Yeah, the Wetlands Protection Act basically states that on a foot-by-foot basis, if you fill in a floodplain, you have to take at least that much out.
Right, and there's more than enough compensating from what
Yeah,
I see.
but there's issues with where it is.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it has to be on the site. And we're not sure, and we also, since from the original proposed map, there's filling, it looks like the filling was just done to establish the driveway and the site grade and not anything to do with the foundation. And now we have a foundation detail as was requested in the city comments, but there's no changes to any of the calculations. So the question that I had was, we want to see what the actual foundation calculations are and the land regrading calculations are, just so they add up.
Okay.
Okay. All right. No other comments? All right. Commissioner McDonough? Okay. And Commissioner Dillon?
Yeah, I have no comments.
All right.
Could I ask something? You have the proposed driveway grading. Does that include pavement?
Yes.
So the grade shown here is the top of the pavement?
Yes.
All right. Swati, any comments specifically from the city?
We basically had, needed some additional information about the proposed driveway, the material, basically, and wanted to make sure that we get an itemized fill information so that it's easy to look at the levels in relation to the compensatory storage provided. So
Okay.
that was the outstanding thing.
All right. So this most likely will get continued today, Mr. Erickson, for, revisions of stamp plan and answering the questions that we've asked. But I'm going to open it up right now to anyone who'd like to offer their comments or concerns regarding the submittal. And again, if you make a comment tonight, that will not stop you from commenting at any future public hearings. So, or if you don't comment tonight, you can still comment at any future public hearings. So, yes, Mr. Hamlet. And just kindly identify yourself for the record, John.
Thank you. John Hamblett, 495 Varnum Avenue, speaking on behalf of the Pawtuckettville Citizens Council. We did not get any of the updated information, so although we will have objections, we're not going to be making them tonight. I did have a general question on the continuance. We have asked the other land use boards and received confirmation that if continuance is agreed, that tolling is in effect, that there's a waiver of all the deadlines. And so I just wanted to confirm that that all the deadlines would be waived if this were continued.
Well, if the continuance will be at the request of the proponent, so that continues everything.
And that's
Okay.
automatically
Yes.
included now in the conservation. I know we've touched on zoning board and planning board. I wasn't sure we'd done it here.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Is there anyone else who would like to offer their comments or concerns regarding the submittal? Okay. Hearing none, do I have at the request of the proponent, or the applicant, have a motion to continue?
Motion to continue.
By Commissioner Varnum. Now this, Mr. Erickson, will you be ready for our next date, which will be, today's the 8th, that will be the 22nd? Yeah. Yes. Will you be ready to go for the 22nd? The submittal deadline is a week before. The submittal deadline is a week before, so, okay. Okay, all right. So for the July 22nd meeting, motion by Commissioner Varnum, seconded by
Seconded.
Commissioner Toner. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right, thank you. I'm going to take the next item out of order. It's the fourth item on tonight's agenda. It's an enforcement order continued from the last hearing date. Cavallero Domingos. The violation location is 506 Lawrence Street, and it's alteration of a wetland buffer area without prior approval from the Conservation Commission. Yes, Attorney Cox, if you could kindly identify yourself for the record.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Attorney John Cox, 755 Dutton Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. I represent the Cavallero family. And just maybe a little history. I just was at the property 2 days ago on Lawrence Street. As you know, or you may not know, it's a piece of property that the Cavallero family bought back in the 1970s. At that time, they constructed sort of a garage in the back of the property, and there was kind of an opening right down to the Concord River. I know with the work that the city has done recently in creating that beautiful gateway on the Concord River, the walkway, I think the city bought some property from Mass Electric or one of the utilities there, which abutted Mr. Cavallero's property. So I guess what's happened recently is the city has probably had this all surveyed recently and come up with lot lines. after they purchased the property from Mass Electric, I think it was. And maybe that created some confusion. I know Mr. Cavallaro at some point, because there was an old chain link fence apparently down near the river. Recently, that was taken out. Mr. Cavallaro then constructed a red blockade fence at the back of his property, which he thought was on his property line. That may not be correct. But the bottom line here is, I was there on Monday. It's pristine behind his property, down to the river. Any cleanup that needed to be done clearly has been done. But we're here to let you know that we will work with you, clearly with the building commissioner who I've spoken with. We'd be happy to go out there and meet with anyone that the city suggests at any time to look at the property, to look at the condition of the property. If there is some issue as to whether that new blockade fence, which actually looks very nice, I think, is somehow on the city property, then we'll clearly work with the city to alleviate that situation as well. So I think it was some miscommunication, not miscommunication, but maybe misinformation on possibly Mr. Cavallaro's part, as when, it was kind of no man's land, I guess, that land between his land and the river. I think, again, and I think when the city bought it for that gateway, issues arose. So we're here to work with the city. Clearly, it looks like it's pristine, in my opinion, as of Monday, and would be happy to work with the city in any way possible to resolve any issues.
All right, and Mr. Cavallaro, is he here?
Correct, yes. Mr. Cavallaro.
All right, one, I appreciate your responsiveness to this, but, and Attorney Cox for coming in on his behalf. I haven't had a chance personally to see the site. I'm familiar with the area. I do know that, and again, I haven't seen a plan of the site other than just the city's GIS overlay, right, which it appears from that the shed and the fence are not on Mr. Cavallaro, or partially not on Mr. Cavallaro's property. So, so in that regard, that's not our issue. That's another board, another right department, right, it's whatever. If you could convey to your client, however, though, that adding a fence, building a new fence, repairing a fence, adding additions to the fence in that area, in that back area to his yard, has to be done with our prior approval.
Obviously.
That is floodway, it's floodplain, it's riverfront area, it's wetland boundary, it's buffer zone. There's all kinds of jurisdictional. Yeah, we might miss one. It's not a vernal pool. That's about it. But it's everything else. So, right, yeah, that's just hit so many of our jurisdictional points. So. Swathy, has the city been out there? Attorney Cox has indicated that the site's been cleaned up. I know I saw pictures that at some point in time, and I don't know when they were taken, but apparently there was some inspectional services observations of debris actively being, introduced and dumped on the site. So, which is kind of troubling, obviously. Yep. But has there been any follow-up this week?
Yes, one of the building inspectors was at the site today, and the site is in cleaned up condition to the property owner's side of the fence.
Okay.
He didn't get a chance to, so the other side, pretty much the city spent about $30,000 to clean up the other side, which is the part where the debris was.
Okay, so that's been cleaned up, but the city did that?
Yes,
yeah,
the
all right.
city has done
you've
it.
got an issue with the city on that. That's, again, not our issue, but
correct.
You
Yeah.
can't, you just implore upon your client that, allowing introduction of unclean fill of any kind in that area, you just can't do it.
Will not happen.
Yeah,
Will not happen.
you can cut your lawn, but you can't change the grades without prior approval, so.
Correct.
Just if I may speak,
Yep.
Just to update, I checked with the building inspector the status of the shed, and apparently that's not to code, and we did not have an RDA filing when that was placed. So it's, the size of it, the location of it is not meeting the zoning ordinance to begin with. And it is also, so are you recommending that they file an RDA?
Well, and thank you for reminding me of that. The issue with the shed is it's considered, I'm assuming it's on cinder blocks.
I think some of it is, yes.
Yeah, that's considered what we call a temporary structure. And whether or not it's entirely on his property, so for instance, Mr. Cavallero, if you can convey to your client, it's not like he can, I understand that it straddles the line, but it's not like he can pick it up and move it.
Right.
Assuming he could, because you can't have a temporary structure within the floodway of the Concord River.
Right.
You can't, the act doesn't allow it and the city ordinance doesn't allow it. So it has to be removed.
Yeah, that was built in the 70s,
Yeah,
and
but
I
even,
understand
it doesn't,
what you're
even if
I know.
it doesn't matter.
Right.
It can't be there.
Right. And we will work with the building commissioner
Right.
pertaining to that
Yeah,
issue.
'cause
That needs to be amended, or and I'm sure it will be, have to be raised a little bit. We have no problem doing that.
Yeah, I mean, what happens is with structures like that is they become floating weapons,
correct. Yeah, good point.
and they become battering rams, and it's under the storm damage prevention part of the Wetlands
Right.
Protection
Yep.
Act
Nope, absolutely.
that they can't be there. And again, it's because it's in the floodway. If it was just floodplain, it would be a different story.
Right.
But since it's in the floodway itself,
Perfectly understandable.
the act takes into account the horizontal flow.
Right.
So,
And Mr. Chairman, if any work has to be done on either the fence or I think one or the other will have to be done, we will obviously come here for permission before anything happens with those structures.
yes, all right. I have no further comments, but what I'd like to, I'm going to open it up obviously for the other members, but what I'd like to do is get some verification and some satisfaction from the engineering department and the inspectional services that, the work has been completed, that it's being done, and that we can reach a resolution before we release the enforcement order.
Just to provide some direction to the property owner, is the commission expecting them to file an RDA in the event the other departments are recommending that they, relocate the shed?
Yeah, to the
and
extent,
remove the
right,
fence?
we're kind of in a rock and a hard place situation with our board, is because we have a shed that's been there for who knows how long. Now that it has to be moved, you can't just move it. You have to meet the performance standards of the Wetlands Protection Act now.
Nothing simple, Mr. Chairman.
No,
I understand that.
so because of that, the act wouldn't allow it there to begin with. So you have to file if you want to keep it in that area on the property. Okay, you just can't move it, all right?
Without your permission.
Yeah.
Correct.
Now, the city obviously wants it off of their property. Again, that's not our issue. I mean, we can order the city to remove it, and they'll go out there with the chainsaw and file and cut half the building off. I mean, they would be within their rights, I suppose, to do that. But that's really not the way things get done. You know that, I know that, and we try and resolve these things amicably.
Right.
So.
Well, if you think it's the wise idea is, again, to meet with the building inspector, I think when he's available and when it's convenient, and we could try to wrap up all these issues at the same time.
Yeah, and again, obviously economically, but with due haste too. I mean, this shouldn't be
Oh,
put
sure.
off.
Oh, no, we want to get
this
this resolved.
shouldn't be put off. And the fence is another issue. The fence, to the extent that it is on the city's property, I'm assuming the city is going to want it moved. And
Right.
similarly, that's going to require an RDA filing.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Commissioner Varnum? All right, Commissioner Toner?
No comments.
Commissioner McDonough? Commissioner Dillon?
No comments.
Okay, is there anyone, this isn't an NEO, so I'm not going to open it up. But is there anything else that the city's concerned with?
So-
Again, this is sort of a multi-department.
Sure.
Right.
Would you want to consider, continuing this item maybe.
Yeah,
on
I'm
a
going to
further
continue it
update?
generally. I don't want it to just crop up on the agenda and just, we know that you and the
Sure.
office are keeping an eye on it,
Yeah,
so.
so maybe as the property owner is close to a resolution which
With the
includes
city,
filing an
correct, then they make a
Okay.
filing when you're ready to go forward.
Okay.
Okay, once
So
you've reached a
maybe
resolution with the
Once they submit
city.
the RDA, we can conclude the enforcement. Okay, great.
Yes, okay?
Do you think it would be wise to get the building commissioner as well as somebody from DPD meet on the site and go over things, see how we have it
Yes.
resolved, then come back
Yes.
to this board for permission?
Yes, just so you're not having to repeatedly come back and,
That's great.
okay.
That makes
Yeah,
sense. Thank you.
we'll coordinate something together so that it'll be just,
Okay.
addressed
I'll
once.
contact you.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
And again, I mean it, Mr. Cavallaro, I appreciate you, coming in. I mean, oftentimes this board and other boards issue enforcement orders and they get ignored and then it gets nasty. But so, I appreciate you coming in and resolving this, or working to resolve it, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right,
Thank
all
you,
right.
members of the board.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, moving on to tonight's second item is a request for a certificate of compliance was continued from last year, and this is concerning DEP file number 2060721, and the project location is 576 Lawrence Street, and this is the Centennial Island Apartments. We had continued this, I believe, for a good period of time. We wanted a growing period, and I've been out there. I'm kind of satisfied with what's going on, so I would be satisfied that a COC issued on this. But I don't know, Swathi, if you want to, if anyone has gone out there to look at the site. I know we have some new members on here that perhaps don't know the history of the original request, but again, Swathi, if you have any comments to add on this, so.
I did go by the site last week, and the area has been restored satisfactorily. And considering it's an area which is not like used as in like part of an open space directly, it should be fine,
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, I was satisfied with what I saw, so.
I move to issue a certificate of compliance.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Dillon, motion by Commissioner Varnum. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Moving on to tonight's last item, but the third item on the agenda is an enforcement order also continued from prior hearings. The Khmer Buddhist Monks, Inc. violation location was 58 and 66 Townsend Avenue, and its destruction of plant life within bordering land subject to flooding. Tree clearing remnants were observed during a site inspection conducted on May 8th, 2015. We had continued this awaiting, if memory serves me right, the removal of the dumpster, which from the pictures, it looks like that happened. And the city, and they now are utilizing the city recycling bins and trash bin. So, and I don't believe there was anything else other than them proceeding with their regular filing. So I'm satisfied that that the items in the enforcement order have been completely satisfied, and we could lift this. I don't know if there's any other comments from the commission.
Swathi, is it my recollection that they were going to come in if they wanted to do any more tree cutting? Okay, thank you.
All right.
I just wanted to check with you if I can, they still have left the cinder blocks on which the dumpster, kind of like a temporary pad they had created. Now that they are not proposing to, have the dumpster there, we can request that they be removed from there because the carts can actually stay on the driving pavement.
Okay. All right. Any other comments from the commission? Okay. All right. So I'll entertain a motion then to lift the enforcement order. I don't think it's needed at this point in time, so.
I'll move to lift this enforcement order.
All right. Seconded by
Second?
Commissioner Tona, motion by Commissioner Varnum. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. And we don't have any minutes. Is there any other business? No? All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn by Commissioner Dillon? Seconded by Commissioner McDonough. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and good night.